Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources.
Thank you, Frida, for that video. And now I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to session 8 of the second cohort. And today we are going to be tying it all together with the liquid token. A recap of the week's topic from week 1 to week 7, and we are going to look at how the liquid token can be used to address water challenges, the potential impact of the Actuate token ecosystem on water harvesting, most especially water harvesting. So I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome our CEO to the meeting. You're very welcome, Dr. Macharia, and thank you for making time. And to everyone else, let us make this session as interactive as possible because it is the last session for the second cohort. And now I'm going to welcome our topic master, Mr. Ronald, to take us through the topic. So Ronald, you're welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Everyone who's around during the meeting, you're all welcomed. Trying it all together. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we bring together everything we've covered over the last 7 weeks, exploring the full potential of the liquid token, exploring the full potential of the liquid token and the Actuate token ecosystem. We've seen how each piece of this ecosystem, from the government of the token house to the community connection of the citizen house and the boots on the groundwork of our community development workers, all contribute to one central goal: water sustainability. Today, as we reflect on those topics, we look closely. Today, as we go through the topics, we look closely at the contribution. We look closely at the contribution and challenges created by the sustainable practices and empowered communities. This isn't just about tokens or technology. It's about mobilizing resources and creating real impact in communities facing water scarcity and other pressing issues. Together, let's look at how the Actuate token ecosystem can be transformative force for change. Recap of the week's topics. We begin by introducing the liquid token and the token house, which play a role in managing and distributing resources. Through structured governance, the token house resources that reach areas where they can make the most impact. Next week, next we explore soulbound tokens managed by the Citizens House. These tokens are designed to create secure, community-rooted assets that support accountability and long-term collaboration. Our journey continued with the Actuate token, which directly support community development workers as they implement water projects. By incentivizing their work, the Actuate token motivates project implementation and ensures ongoing engagement. We also discuss the creative process for water projects, emphasizing the importance of brainstorming, ideation, and community input, which brings the vision for water projects to life. In our shared vision for water sustainability session, we aligned our goals with community aspirations for clean, accessible water. We then examine the current reality for water, the argument challenge we face, including scarcity, pollution, and inefficiency. Finally, we explored a roadmap for water sustainability, laying out goals and strategies to transform this vision into reality. How the liquid token addresses water challenges. The liquid token provides a dynamic approach to address some of the most pressing water challenges. First, it mobilizes funding for water-focused projects, ensuring swift support for initiatives such as well digging, filtration, and other emergency responses to water scarcity.
Lost audio, Anthony.
Ronald, we can't hear you. Can you please check your microphone again?
Did he drop?
You can mute and then you unmute so that we see if it's going to make a difference.
Maybe he was dropped by the system. Or maybe, well,
Let's give him a second or two to see if he's going to join back. Just a minute. Okay, so basically, Ronald has said he's having network issues, and so today we're just tying it all together from week 1 to week 7, and this being week 8 for the second cycle. And maybe you can just give an overview of the topics we've looked at from the very first one up to this point. So during the first week, which is the first topic, we looked at the liquid token in the token house, and we introduced the liquid token and looked at the role of the token in the token house in managing and distributing liquid tokens, and then governance and decision making within the token house. For the second week, we looked at the soulbound token for the citizens house, and then we introduced the concept of soulbound tokens and the role of the citizens house also in managing soulbound tokens, and looked at the benefits of soulbound tokens for community members. For the third week, we looked at the Actuate token on water projects, paying attention to community development workers. We introduced the Actuate token and looked at the role of community development workers in using the Actuate tokens and incentivizing rewards and incentives for using the Actuate tokens to the community. For the fourth week, we looked at the creative process for the water project. We did a brainstorm on ideation for water projects, water project planning and implementation, and the role of the community in project development, particularly water project development. And then for the fifth week, we looked at the shared vision for water using the Actuate token, creating a shared vision for water sustainability, aligning the Actuate token with the shared vision, and empowering the community through the Actuate token. And then for the sixth week, we looked at the current reality of water, basically the challenges we are facing in relation to water, the element of water scarcity and drought, water pollution and contamination, and then the inefficient water harvesting practices that are very common among communities. And then last week, we looked at the roadmap from the current reality to the future we truly want. That is setting goals and objectives for water harvesting and water sustainability, developing a strategic plan for achieving the desired future. And we looked at the role of the Actuate token in driving this particular change. So I hope now everyone has a clue what we have been looking at over the last 7 weeks. And maybe just to mention about the role of the Actuate token in the Actuate token ecosystem in water sustainability, I want to say that the Actuate token ecosystem kind of supports water sustainability through 3 key components. The first one is governance, the second one is community cohesion, and the third one is field empowerment. And the token house governs liquid token distribution with input from community stakeholders, ensuring that the process remains transparent and adaptive. The citizens house, on the other hand, strengthens community bonds by overseeing soulbound tokens, which build accountability and unity among community members who share a commitment to long-term sustainable goals. And then community development workers are supported by Actuate tokens or incentivized by Actuate tokens, which reward field workers for carrying out water projects and training community members on the essence of coming up with water projects and how these water projects are going to benefit these particular communities. And then this incentivization aligns daily work with a broader objective of water harvesting and fostering engagement and continuous progress within the communities. And then we have the potential impact of the Actuate token ecosystem. And the Actuate token ecosystem has the potential to profoundly impact water sustainability on multiple levels. We have the local empowerment, which is central to this impact. Communities can take ownership of their water resources, equipped with incentives to implement and sustain practices that conserve and protect resources. Additionally, these resources are theirs. The ecosystem is scalable across regions, and this allows for each community to tailor their approach while benefiting from the resources and guidance provided by the Actuate tokens. Then the data-driven decisions are another key benefit, because as the ecosystem can collect valuable data on water usage, water harvesting, and other water practices and the community needs, this data enables us to refine our strategies and prioritize funding based on the accurate insights into where and how resources are mostly needed. And lastly, I want to say that the Liquid token and the broader Actuate token ecosystem create a powerful framework that connects resources with the community goals, and there is that form of alignment. And by aligning with a shared vision of sustainability, we are building a self-sustaining system that addresses both immediate and long-term water needs. By long-term, we mean that when you're able to harvest your water, you can be able to use that water even in the near future when we experience cases of the season of drought. And then the journey towards water sustainability depends on the collective efforts of communities, leaders, field workers. In this case are the community development workers, who are all going to be empowered by the Liquid token. And our call to action is very simple. We want everyone to join us towards a future where every community is going to have access to clean and sustainable water resources, supported by the Actuate token ecosystem. And how are you going to join us in this? We have a summit coming up in December where you can join as an attendee. And if you have a company that deals with either construction, sells tanks, mabati, and gutters, and anything that can be used to lead to water harvesting or water sustainability, you're invited, and we have already reserved space for you at the summit to come and run a workshop and showcase the products that your company offers, or that company that you're going to invite to the summit will offer. And with that, we can make this vision a reality. And yes, that is all I can say for now. Daktari, maybe if I can invite you to give a few remarks, and then we can
All right.
proceed there.
Thank you, Barbara. Let me see. Am I audible? Am I able to-
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ronald Anthony was knocked out by the system. I see the metrics. Ronald Anthony, if you're here, you can hear us. Thank you so much for giving us this final, let's say the final discussion, tying it all together. What are we tying together, ladies and gentlemen, is what Barbara has also reiterated. What we have learned over the past 7 weeks. And the key lesson for all of us here is that there is no scarcity of water. Who has not learned that? Instead, we have abundance of water. The narrative about scarcity is created by dismal scientists. Now, we are not dismal scientists, because we are not of them that draw back to predation. The dismal scientists want you to think that the world is ending tomorrow. You know, like Chicken Little. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. No, the sky is not falling. The sky has never fallen on anybody. Let them stop lying to you. We have abundance of water. What we do not know, or we don't recognize, is that abundance that is always with us. As it is written in John chapter 1, the word was among them, but they did not recognize it. They did not recognize him. See? That thing called recognizing him, that's always there among you, but you do not recognize, is what creates an illusion of abundance, take that back, an illusion of scarcity. Scarcity is an illusion. The reality is that water is abundant. Of course, just like sunlight is abundant. There's nowhere you don't get the sun shining every single day of the year, even in Alaska, by the way, and in the Arctic Circle, or the Arctic Circle there in the North Pole. So this abundance, this scarcity is an illusion. Everything we need, we already have. Everything we need to have abundance is already with us. Everything we need. I just want you to understand that. take one moment. First of all, swallow that saliva, that you have everything you need with you. It is not somewhere else. Things even that you begin getting, nobody went there to get them from another planet, or say another system, another solar system. You get it from here. As it is written, all that is mine is thine. All that is mine is thine. You see what's reading that this Christian Bible says, all that is mine is thine. It means that there's no scarcity. If all that is mine is thine, then the mystery is to discover how to gain access to all that is mine so that it can become thine. All that is mine is thine. That's the word. So you are not lacking in anything. What you are lacking is a technology for accessing everything, that abundance. So again, I'll repeat to you, you are not lacking in anything. All you're lacking is the technology. That technology sometimes is physical technology, sometimes it's metaphysical technology, and other aspect of it is a spiritual technology. So there are three states of technologies that you need to get into all that is mine so that it can become thine. You're talking about this in reference to availability of water. So because all that is mine is thine, and I want to give you examples of how that all that is mine is thine. You cannot have it until you find a technology for harnessing the all that is mine. For example, before electrical current was invented, means of capturing electric current so that we can light the light bulbs in our house and we use it for industrial processing. Electricity was always there. Electricity was not made by, say, Edison or even Tesla himself. They did not make electricity. All those guys did was to create a technology that is going to harness the electricity. See? So electricity is not something that they made. I can also tell you that information technology for sending emails, which is electronic mail, meaning movement of electrons. Electrons were always there. Electrons were not made when the information technology was done. What they discovered is some people discovered who made now computer scientists, is how to make the semiconductors to capture the electricity, electrons, to turn that electron into information. See, so people like Godel, they figured out how you can use the electrons that were already there. Remember, these electrons, they were not made when Godel showed up. These electrons were always there. But then Godel came out with a technology for capturing or harnessing those electrons so we can have the electronic system. And then we have electronics. So electronics, now we call it computer science, and all that is not. We have all these beautiful things from radio transmission to television to WhatsApp to even Google Meet and Zoom that we have right now. These things were always there. So, and they are there in abundance. The abundance is there. Now, what makes a difference? That someone can harness the electrons and make those electrons that were already available do certain jobs that nobody else the world could not figure out how to do. And if people are, before say 1940s, could people have said there is scarcity of electrons? Could you have said such a thing and people believed you? And now we are very boldly saying there's scarcity of water. There is no such thing as scarcity of water. What we have is a scarcity of understanding how to harness the abundance of water that is already present. And then you can see if you learn from those trades like electricity, electronics, and even let's say thermodynamics, all these types of things, they come from assembling a lot of different aspects of knowledge together. So it is not one source, it's usually multidisciplinary understanding that you have to bring multiple people from multiple disciplines together so that then something else emerges. You cannot have abundance by what's called vertical thinking. You cannot reach what is mine to make it thine by working alone by yourself in a silo. That's a universal law. You have to open up your mind, listen to others, so that you can figure out how do we work together to create what? To gain access to the abundance that is already present. By the way, these things are very, very well described everywhere, because we are told that there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. You're not going to create anything new that does not exist. For example, those electrons that end up becoming the source of email or the information system were already there. They were not created. So remember, there's nothing new under the sun. Nobody was telling you, go and create something that does not exist. They already exist. Now, if these things already exist, why is it that we keep talking about scarcity? Keep talking about scarcity because it is easy, to think about scarcity. It is easier to think about dismal thing, the sky is falling. It makes a nice telltale conversations in the evening when you're scaring your friends or even your children or people in your family, telling them how life is going to be so bad because there will not be enough water. There's not going to be enough this, and so when we appear in such state, and that is a state that affects more than 95% of the people, because they are afraid of thinking about abundance. So they would rather remain in the status quo. It's called the comfort zone, because you're comfortable the way you are. Talking about scarcity is comfortable. And even when it begins raining, you run away and you go and hide in your house so that the rain does not demolish you. Instead of thinking about how are we going to harvest this rain. See? But then as you're hiding in your house, the rain is still raining there. Water is dropping, coming to the ground, and then running all the way down to the river, then running from the river all the way down to the ocean. And then wake up in the morning, go and say, oh, there's scarcity of water. Can you believe that? Yeah. And all you have to do is change your narrative, change the consciousness. That is easier said than done. And that is what described in Genesis 1:1. Just in case, this is talking about the Holy Bible. These are in the Holy Scriptures. All the scriptures in all religious movements cover this material, because that's what's called creation. Genesis 1 talks about a darkness that covers the surface of the deep. So what is in the deep is abundance. There's so much abundance in that deep, but there is darkness that is covering that surface. But that darkness you cannot remove it unless your spirit moves. That movement of the spirit is a shift of consciousness. Consciousness from talking about scarcity to the consciousness of abundance. And you say, oh, what that talk of scarcity is complete nonsense. Can we talk about abundance? And we say, how do we now create abundance? And then you're told in the next statement, and when the Spirit of God moved, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. That light we are talking about is shedding light into that into that darkness that is covering the surface of the deep, so you can actually begin to see their burdens. You could, for example, in Gödel and all the people who did electronics, they could not see the way of harnessing those electronics if they did not have that movement of consciousness to say, oh my goodness, get an aha moment. Oh, this is how it is. Then it becomes revealed to you. That's what's called revelation. Revelation, you cannot achieve revelation unless your consciousness moves, unless you get a shift in the consciousness or a shift of spirit. Now that shift of spirit, shifting needs to be ignited. It cannot, the consciousness just doesn't just move by itself. As you know, according to Newton's law of motion, the very first law of motion, he said an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an external force. See? Now that is Newton in 1659. Read, I posted this in Principia Mathematica, which I posted in Actuate Nation. An object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an external force. That external force that you need to act upon your state of consciousness so you can achieve a shift in consciousness is what we call actuate. All right, that force, that is what's called actuating. So, and we have in Actuate Foundation, we have looked at what is that technology that we shall need to actuate a shift of consciousness, so we can move the spirit from the narrative of scarcity into a new spirit with a narrative of abundance. It's called actuate or actuating. So if you take a pen and paper and say, what is to actuate? To actuate is to cause movement of spirit from a state of a narrative, from a state of scarcity to a narrative of the state of abundance. Now swallow that, make sure you digest that, because that's gonna require some serious digestive juices, some serious digestive enzymes, so that it can get into your bloodstream and percolate into your entire system. That is what's called to actuate, is a Genesis 1 moment where you need an external force to act, to cause a shift of consciousness, because when that consciousness shifts, then you shed light upon that darkness that covers the surface of the deep. And you see, you're told that the Spirit of God moves over the waters. The waters, in this case, is your emotion or your feelings. The Spirit of God moved over the waters. The waters, if in all these old scriptures, whenever you see waters, you understand it to symbolize feelings. Because feelings determine your action. Feelings determine your action. I'm going to tell you how it works, how this is arranged. You think, you feel, and then you do what you feel. Nobody has ever done anything he doesn't feel like doing. You have never done anything you do not feel like doing. So the things that you do are those things that you feel like doing. Now, if you see yourself not doing something, you know you don't feel like it. You don't feel like doing. So feeling is the secret. And so when you say the Spirit moves over the surface of the waters, it means the spirit that you are thinking, your consciousness overrides your feeling, so that you can create a new set of feelings. Feelings are created by yourself, by the way you think. As it is written and explained by Solomon himself, he said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when you think, what you think is what your heart produces. And what your heart produces, that is what you are. So it comes from your thinking to your heart. The heart is the center of feeling. When you see heart and feeling, it's equals the same thing. Heart, feeling, water, same thing. So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So is he means that, and of course, for all the ladies who are here, that also applies to women. When they say man, they don't mean man because a man, that's just a way of saying a human being. Or it's a human being thinketh in his or her heart, so is he. So your heart is the one that expresses. So your thinking is the one that impresses upon your heart, which is the center of feelings, and then you express the feeling. So it comes from your mind, from your heart to your muscles. Your muscles are the one that take action. So the spirit moving over the waters means that you have to overcome your heart. Your heart does not have anything to do. It's you have to think first, and then you execute what you think. You cannot shift the consciousness if you have not shifted your thinking. There's no shift. So the spirit has to move above the waters. It has to move over the waters. You cannot do anything you have not thought about doing, because you think about it, you feel like doing it, then you do it. But what's the problem we have right now in the society is that people are afraid to think. They switch off that thinking, switch off the thinking, so that the thing can be done by somebody else. Let's say 95% of the people, these are true statistics. 95% of the people would rather die than think. You ask them, what do you think? You say, he does not stop thinking about something new, how to solve a problem. He will explain to you what other people have been thinking. And so he cannot make his own. And you see, if you can't think, we are thinking about what you are told by somebody else out there. And let me tell you, there are enough people to tell us that about how to think. But because they know that we aren't going to think for ourselves, we're just going to do what they're saying we think. For example, all the story of scarcity of water is created as a narrative which comes from very high up there, all the way, say, from the international organizations, say like United Nations, the European Union. It's going to be telling, oh, there's such scarcity of water in sub-Saharan Africa. So we cannot think that that is a story that's created, and we cannot think different. So the spirit is removed from the thinking. As soon as you're told that, we are told by others, but we cannot deploy our own thinking. So what you're talking about actuating is, first of all, the spirit moving above the water is to override that narrative that comes from out there, override it. You wipe it. How do you override it? You say they can say whatever they want, but you say that's nonsense. You don't care about that. You have to dismiss it completely. You wipe it out of your consciousness. There is no such thing as scarcity. And it's only then that you're going to gain access to what is described there. All that is mine is thine. All that is mine is thine implies that the abundance is already there. If only you can shift your consciousness to thinking that way. See, that is seriously profound explanation of what causes scarcity. And you see, there's a lot of people who would rather that you don't think about abundance. A lot of people, particularly the political establishment. The political establishment within a nation. Say, if you ask people in political enterprise, they will continue to propound that story of scarcity, trying to convince you how things are bad, the sky is falling. At the academic establishment, if you go to school, many classes, many courses, they're teaching their young ones about scarcity and all the nonsensical type of language you cannot even imagine. telling you how you can mitigate. There's no such thing as mitigation. In darkness, either there's shift of consciousness, or you to get abundance, or you'll be talking about mitigation forever and ever. You see, that's an adventure in missing the point. And then there is, that is in academic and establishment, and you see that story is built, reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And you see, why do people do that? Those people create stories of scarcity so that they can create a dependence, because they want you not to think about the abundance that you already have, so that you can depend on them. Whoever they are, whether they're politicians, the academicians, whether they're geopoliticians, that's in geopolitics international level, where one nation thinks that it is the one that creates solutions, and they give solutions to everybody on the ground. It's called geopolitics. So that the people do that so that they can control what you do. If they convince you that you have scarcity, then you're going to be thinking that it's up to them to help you to create abundance, so that you're always dependent on them. So the burden of solving your problem of water is not up to you, but the burden of solving the problem of water is up to them. See? Whereas all that is mine is thine. And so they want you to forget that. So, but you do not want to forget that at all, that all that is mine is thine. That means that you, when the mind in this statement does not apply to me, Macharia here, Macharia Waringi, it implies yourself, your own consciousness. All that is mine, which is in your consciousness, is thine, which means that you can make it manifest. That means the abundance of water is within you to produce. Now, that is what we call a prologue of the prologue for this epilogue, because I think this is the last lesson here. Over the past 7 weeks, we have now found out that in order for this abundance to manifest, 10 key partners must be present. 10 key partners. And I want you to write this down, because these 10 key partners are the same partners you're going to find at the Actuate Summit, or in the water workshop, the workshop on water abundance. Let's call it the workshop on water abundance. We call them the 10 key partners of abundance of water. And we said that water is abundant. All we need to do is figure out how to harvest it. Just like we said, electronics were always abundant. All we needed to do is figure out how to harness electronics to make electronic system. Luckily, that technology for harvesting water is not as hidden as electronics. Electronics were hiding somewhere because they are very, very, very tiny. They're invisible. You cannot see them with your naked eyes. Even your eyes are full dressed with, smartly dressed. You still need an electronic microscope to see them. So that's another story. But water abundance is not hidden. It's not even mysterious. This is ordinary people, ordinary, regular people like yourself and myself are able to achieve abundance on condition that we get the 10 partners to work together in a shared vision for abundance of water. Now, the 10 partners, the number 1 partners are the builders of houses, of our homes. Write this down, because we want to find, if you know people who do the construction work, building, and they have building companies, you go out there and tell them to come and hear the good news. There's nobody here with us who does not live in a house built by someone else, or by himself or herself. Is there anyone who does not live in a house? I don't think so. I don't know. But I think every one of us, every one of you lives in a house built by someone. So the house is called shelter. And as you know, according to Abraham Maslow, shelter is one of the basic human needs. Human basic needs, number one is called shelter. So the other one is food and shelter. So if people are going to have food, they need to go and eat that food somewhere. They are going to go back to their houses, which they call their homes, and that home is built by someone. Those people who build houses are known as watu wa mjengo. They are also known as fundis. They are known as also construction people, and they are teaching construction science in universities today. So every university, I think we have about almost 60 technical universities in Kenya right now. And in each one of those, you are going to find people learning construction science or construction management. Okay. And besides the technical universities, you are going to find polytechnics, which are not universities, but colleges, polytechnic colleges, where we get also people being trained about construction. And see, constructions have got three things. One is the design itself, which you could say architectural designs. So that's the advanced level. So this means in construction, the partners that you're going to need there are called architects. So if you know anyone who is an architect, you tell that architect he is one of the partners for abundance of water. You see, what is missing now is an architect connecting his job as an architect with abundance of water. Okay? That is because of the siloed nature of education. That an architect is doing architecture, he may not understand that his job is directly related to abundance of water. This is why I'm talking about shifting consciousness, where the architect now sees his work. When he's designing a building, he's going to think about how that building can harvest water. That's one level of partner in construction. So in construction, then we have the builders themselves, who are maybe structural engineers. Before we go to the physical builders, the masons, and also or the fundis. Let's call them fundis in Swahili, because mason we just include stones, but then there's tiba, construction, and carpentry. All those people are called fundis. But before that, we have structural engineers who read what the architects have designed, and they interpret that. You could call them the interpreters. So they interpret the design to who? They interpret the design to the fundis, who are now going to build the house according to the interpretations, the specification, including the materials. The materials for construction include things like cement, sand, stones, timber, things like that. What materials to buy. So then you have all those people assembling together, but the most significant material is the roof. Because we have said here time and over is that the roof is a primary technology for water harvesting. We want to understand the roof. Now, if you have builders or even architects who don't design the roof properly, that roof will not be harvesting the water in an optimal way. So that's what means having those things, that group of people who are the construction science, in the construction side, being the first group of partners for abundance of water. And we want to make sure that message goes across to this discipline. Now we have the roof manufacturer. These people provide materials for construction. The roof include people who make roofing materials such as kidani, who make iron sheets, or maybe other roofing materials. And these materials have to be good, optimal for collecting rainwater. Because you can have a roof that will be making the water toxic or producing some poisonous things into the water. Yeah, so that is serious. So the roof itself has to be clean, has to have the ability to capture clean water, because then when the water is coming from the clouds, from heaven, let's say, that water is not dirty, it's not polluted. But you do not so you do not want it to get polluted by the roofing material itself. And so the roofing companies are also very important and central to abundance of water. Then when the roof has captured the water needs to be directed somewhere. It needs a pathway. That pathway for the water is known as a gutter. So roof has to be collected in the gutter system. So people who sell gutters are also partners. You could say that is the third type of partner that must be present for abundance of water. So the gutters manufacturers are the third partners for what? For water harvesting, for abundance of water. Then when water is harvested, where is directed by the gutters, where does it go? It goes into a tank. So when you have a downpour, like two nights, you can fill one tank, which has got about 10,000 gallons. You see, just one roof for a family of 3, let's say 3 children and two parents, 5. Family of 5, in just 2 nights and the tank is full. So one tank is not sufficient to capture enough water for the family for the rest of the year. So we have calculated and found that you need at least 10 tanks. Each tank that can harvest at least 10,000 gallons. And that should be optimal. So tank manufacturers have to be there. And we want people who make tanks that also make tanks that are not going to pollute the water. You don't want the water to come from the roof and then get into a clean gutter. Also, the gutters should not be polluting the water. And they have to be installed properly by the builders. And then they put the water in tanks, the tanks that are not likely to what? To pollute the water. And then when water gets into the tanks, now it needs to get into where it's being used. How does it travel? So for example, how does the water travel from your tank into your kitchen sink? Or it travels into your showers? How does the water travel even from those tanks, maybe into your garden for irrigating your kitchen garden, for irrigating your crops? You need pipes. So piping companies also come in. And these companies they will sell pipes. There are all different kinds of pipes, plastic pipes and metallic pipes. Some of them are made of copper, others are stainless steel pipes, all kinds of pipes. But before the water can get into those pipes for distribution, it needs some energy to be raised up because water needs to flow. So we shall need to have pumps. So pump manufacturers, and there are so many, you don't need too many pumps. Maybe you need 1 or 2 pumps in your household. 1 pump may be sufficient to drive water into an elevated tank. When that water goes into an elevated tank through pipes, then you can use it for what? For showers. You can use it for your kitchen sink, and you can use it for distributing it to other places that you need it, even to feed your livestock. So pumps are separate, and then these pumps, they need energy to pump because pump is a kinetic potential. It needs to move so that those pump manufacturers need to sell you a pump that is responsive to solar energy. So now what are we talking about? Solar panel manufacturers to give you energy. And so when you have solar panel manufacturers, then you have a complete system, which is now reinforced by the Actuate token itself. The Actuate token, of course, is liquid. Unless we're talking about tying it together, Actuate token is this substance that ties all those things together. And that's, say, for example, Actuate token, creating a summit when you can have a workshop that has all those disciplines to come in a workshop. Such a workshop will not happen except due to Actuate token. So Actuate token can see becoming the glue. But the long term, Actuate token is also able to reward community economic development workers who will go from household to household to household, teaching people about this partnership for abundance of water. What you do, for example, if you go to the family, the community economic development worker visits the family, what does the community economic development worker tell the family? Tell them, you guys have got a house. This house is very good, but you have a roof. But can we actually think about how this roof can be collecting water, how we can install 10 tanks and all kinds of things? You'll find that people are not installing the tanks, not because they don't have money to install the tanks. It's just because they do not know the good news. It's about knowledge, or getting educated, informed. Such community economic development workers cannot just go there spontaneously all by themselves. So we use Actuate token to mobilize community economic development workers to go to the community, house by house, and talk to family members, the head of the household, the mother, the father, and tell them about the good news about abundance of water. They can use that water for their basic needs. And then they see how they can save the money. See that those community economic development workers are incentivized using Actuate token. Because when they do that, they get paid. They get paid to do that. And if they teach family members, and the family members implement what they have been taught, then they also get incentivized with Actuate token. So we are talking about incentivization, which is only possible in the blockchain economy. That was not possible before. That's why the token is very, very powerful, because mobilizing people all the way from the ground to spread the good news about this partnership for abundance of water. And you see now the partners themselves, who are technical partners, you could say, the roof manufacturers, also the construction work, the builders, architects, the construction workers, the roof manufacturers, the tank manufacturers, the pump manufacturers, all those are technical people. Even the energy solar pump manufacturers, the piping manufacturers, that's high tech. But all those guys cannot come together unless there is an economy that is built about that. So what you're saying now, as we conclude this time, this way I say there is a prologue with an epilogue. The prologue was about the genesis moment. The epilogue is how do you manifest? How do we execute that together so that we can have abundance? How do we manifest? How do we produce abundance? Is by bringing together those 10 partners. So ladies and gentlemen, the summit itself is gonna be a festival of the partnership for abundance. And the workshop on water is a festival for the partnership, the festival for partnership of abundance of water. No more stories about scarcity. Do you say, and anybody tells you anything like that, tell them, listen, get out of here. I don't want to hear about scarcity, because there's no such thing as scarcity. Because it is written, all that is mine is thine. Nobody has said there's scarcity. What is scarce is a technology. Let's say technologies, and in the site there are 3 of them. One of them is physical technologies. The physical technologies is assembling all those 10 partners together. Then there's the mental technology. That's your shift of consciousness, your psychology. And then there is metaphysical. Okay, metaphysical. That is your shift in consciousness, which means that you allow your spirit to move over the darkness that covers the surface of the deep. Let's say your spirit to move over the water. And that's darkness that covers the surface of the deep will just be removed, because you'll be able to shed light, or shedding light. Kuangazia. That's the Swahili word, kuangazia these things. And that's why you say, let there be light, and there is light to abundance. That light shines on abundance. Okay, thank you so much, Barbara and Reynold Anthony. I think we have done something amazing, and so I think if now between now and the summit, we shall be inviting guest speakers from each one of those partners because we already know them, so we can tell you. For example, we know people in building construction. We can come and talk to people in Actuate Nation on a Saturday, and we know people in architecture. We know people in energy, and like that. We have about how many? 4 weeks to go, and I believe that we can have 3 guest speakers or 4 guest speakers over the next 4 weeks, so that you can see the flavor of abundance. Because abundance has got its own flavor. It's about us working together, creating these things called horizontal connection. That is why it is written, love others as you love yourself. That's the second commandment. That's a commandment that makes us get into the next state, meaning that creating horizontal connection, interdisciplinary connections, connection between one discipline and another discipline, and we call them partnerships. We tie them together. So that's what the summit, the workshop is going to be about, so we can achieve this wonderful vision of abundance of water. All right, back to you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Masharia, for taking us through the 7 weeks also, and highlighting the significance or the essence of what really water scarcity is, and taking us through the liquid token, the token house, the Actuate tokens, and generally everything we've done over the past 7 weeks. And of course, mentioning about the summit, which shall be happening in December from 3rd to 6th. And we hope to see everyone there. So this being a Learn to Earn session, I have shared the attendance form to the session. You can fill it out, and we have another session, the blockchain session at 8 p.m. Everyone is welcome to join. We shall be discussing the basics of blockchain, liquidity pools, and the Actuate tokens, and how you can be able to acquire Actuate tokens from Binance. So thank you very much, everyone, for making time to the meeting. See you at 8 p.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari, for making time also.
You're welcome. Have a good day.